I want to talk about where your sun and your moon placements are.
Okay.
Because your sun, moon, Mercury, and Venus, they're all in Aries, but your sun and your moon are in the fifth house, and your Mercury and your Venus are in the fourth house. Um, and I will explain,
Are
yeah,
they usually in the same house
they don't
like that?
always have to be in the same house because they're just kind of like spread apart. And like the houses are, the houses actually, the signs have a specific amount of degrees and that never changes, but based on what was going on in the sky, the houses are different sizes.
So the sun and the moon are in the same house.
Yep.
They're like the exact same
You
energy.
have a really tight conjunction between your sun and the moon, which is there. I think they're like about a little over 1 degree apart. They're just hanging out together all the time.
Wow.
Yeah, which is good and bad. Because if your sun is very strong, and the moon, if you think about it, the moon is a reflective planet. The
Mm.
moon reflects
Mm.
the light of the sun. But it's just as important in its own right, and it can get overshadowed. That kind of a tight conjunction is called a combust,
Mm.
and it's because the sun, sort of like dries up and like makes the other planet like just weak and like feeble and just like it's too hot. I don't like it over here. But with certain planets, like say for Mars is like a hot, dry planets. They do all right in a combust, but the moon is like the quintessential like wet planet. It's the
Interesting.
emo planet. So, but what's great is that because they are so close to each other, they're in the same house, and they both connect to the same matters, which I'll get into. But like, all right, so the fifth house rules. The fifth house is a natural ruler is Leo. So if you know anything about Leo, you know that they really value like self expression and creativity, and it is generally like, look at a meme and it's like, oh my god, I love my hair, or I just want all this attention all the time. And it's true in a way, but it's just because they need to express themselves. It is their birthright, and it is there's a lot of big feelings happening there. But the fifth house governs like romance, not long-term partnerships, like the beginning of romantic affairs. Every art that you can think of, all the creative arts, just passions and like pleasure. It's kind of a decadent house, and it's a fun house, and it's meant to express. All the houses have correlating ages too, 7 years. So that's what I'm saying. Like it's all a pattern, so you can sort of like look at one thing and understand. Like the Aries house is from year 1 to 7, and then you can think about what's happening in the life of a 1 to 7 year old, and you can sort of see that they're developing their personality. They're trying to see like what they can do, how they can
Oh,
inflict their personality in this world,
okay.
and the fifth house correlates to like teenage years. So it's
Okay.
like a carefree situation, and that's where your moon and your sun are. And so there's two things that I want to get into about that. The first thing is that it's via those routes, and I, in particular with you, I think there is an element of being around creative things, as well as you also want to express yourself in that way. It's not just being around them that will help you become the fullest, like realize what you were supposed to be. And your Pluto in the 11th house of social groups is hanging out, and it's there because I'm pretty sure it's through that route that you're going to have the most power,
Hmm.
and therefore you can sort of like make your fifth house sun and moon happy in that way.
I can make them happy in the
Like
social dynamic way.
yeah, like if you use your social behind the scenes social skills, it doesn't have to sound like as nefarious as
No,
it
no,
does.
I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, if you just utilize like the skills that you have, like the gifts that this house has given you, in order to make what you want happen, like make what the core of your being wants to happen. So
That's so interesting.
right? So you can just say, this is a strength, this is a strength. How do I make these strengths work together to like, get what I want?
I almost resist that
You shouldn't.
because I, what you're saying,
Are
I
you
think
Catholic, Jimmy?
I was raised Catholic.
All right.
Uh, but
I'll get
so
into that
I
later.
kind of what you're saying is, so if a group of friends, if some, how do I put this? I'm always there.
Yeah.
If they need anything, I'll be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I don't like doing that the other way around, even though I know they will.
Oh, you mean you don't like to ask for help?
Yeah.
Right. I
No,
don't either.
I don't. It's not even just help. I feel almost guilty if someone helps me.
Really?
So I don't. I think that that's a problem.
Because it's a relinquishment of power, maybe?
Maybe. Maybe. That's interesting.
Honestly, as I was doing this, my like immediate thought was, that you are like just the perfect candidate for shadow work. Have you ever heard of
Oh
shadow
yeah, yeah,
work?
yeah.
Oh, you are
Yes.
like, because there's so much of you that is fire and light and whatnot, but the darker elements they're there and they're pretty strong. And um, I think that maybe you give them too much power. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think that you do, and I don't think it's gonna help you. I think with some people it'll help them to
Mm.
like lean into those, but I don't think it'll help you.
That's
Um,
that's fairly interesting.
yeah, so there's a lot of like Jungian stuff happening with you, and
That's
shadow work is really good.
I am very into young. I find shadow work to be very fulfilling when I've done it.
Really? I'm
Yes.
just starting my shadow work journey.
It's not I mean, I guess it's fun in a way, but it's also really not. Because I don't think fun is a word I could use for it.
Well,
It's
it's
interesting.
interesting.
It's interesting. It's powerful
Yeah.
because essentially what you're doing is looking at yourself
Mhm.
very honestly
Right.
and finding the thing that you don't want to look at
Right.
that's there,
Right.
that's always following you, like your shadow.
Right.
Scout, get down. Your shadow is cast by the light.
Yeah.
Get down.
That's okay.
Uh, and then sort of people think of shadow work, I think, wrong because not everyone, obviously, but a lot of people, I think that means like removing the bad parts of yourself, but it's
They're
not.
gonna
It's
open up their
it's
grimoire and sort of
right.
like
It's
cast spells.
it's more like looking at it honestly
Mm-hmm.
and thinking, how can I use this?
Right.
Not how do I get rid of it?
Right.
And I definitely struggle with
Right.
my initial reaction most of the time when I
Right.
see something is to be like, stamp that out,
Right.
and that's not shadow work.
Right.
That's
And something that I've noticed too, and I think that this applies to you, it also applies to me too, which is why it took me so long to get to this point, is that like, I think just you're just like a good person. You know what I mean?
I
Like
try
that
to
was,
be.
no, you are though. Like even the fact that you're worried about like feeling guilty about the stupidest things. You know what I mean? Like that you're just like a good, honest, pure in a lot of ways person. And if you're like that, then I think that your shadow can be very strong for a variety of reasons. One of them is because, you're just like, I've dealt with all this stuff already. Like, I don't understand why I feel this way. But also, like, the stuff that you haven't dealt with is probably because it's real hard.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because you're not afraid to look at yourself. There's not really a lot of scary stuff in there. I mean, I'm just assuming, but like,
But what there
is
yeah.
tough. Yeah.